Hey guys, welcome to Baker's Bar. My name is Mel and today we are making the best homemade chocolate chip cookies. I am so excited to make these with you because they are seriously the best chocolate chip cookies that I have ever had, and they were also one of the favorites when I used to own my bakery. A lot of the things that we'll be covering today are things that I learned in culinary school. But don't worry, you don't need a degree to make these amazing cookies because I'm gonna show you how. They are so simple to make, use simple ingredients, and will leave everyone asking for more. So let's get to the bar, the Baker's Bar that is. So here are the ingredients we're gonna be using today. Unsalted cold butter, dark brown sugar, granulated white sugar, 2 egg yolks and 1 whole egg, vanilla extract, all-purpose flour, baking soda, cornstarch, salt, and of course, chocolate chips. Now today I'm gonna be using my stand mixer, but this can easily be done with a hand mixer or by hand. I'm using my paddle attachment for my mixer, a spatula, a whisk, and I have 2 prepped cookie sheets with parchment paper ready to go. But by far, the most important thing, if you're getting started on your baking adventures, is to invest in a kitchen scale. This scale is going to allow you to have precise measurements and helps build consistency in your recipes. If you're gonna learn anything from my video today, it should be to get a kitchen scale. This will make all the difference in your baking. Okay, so first off, make sure to preheat your oven. I've already set mine to 360 degrees. Now, a lot of recipes use a standard 350, and for most of my life, I use that temperature as well. But I've recently become a convert to using 360 for my cookies. This higher temp will trap the cookie in place without as much spread, leaving a thicker, chewier, tender cookie. A lower oven temperature causes cookie to spread more, resulting in a thinner and crispier cookie, and that's not really what I'm going for. All right, so let's get to it. I'm starting with my cold butter. Now, a lot of recipes will call for room temperature butter, melted butter, or brown butter, which is delicious, but I'll save that for another video. But for my classic go-to chocolate chip cookies, I always start with cold butter. This allows us to not have to chill it in the fridge prior to baking, but it will still hold its shape and structure. I'll talk more later about the benefits of chilling dough, but in this particular recipe, you don't need to chill your dough, which is one of the reasons why it's the best. Now, I'm gonna throw the butter in the mixer without the sugar first to rough it up a little bit and get it a little bit more malleable. While that's going, I have my brown sugar and my white sugar. Now, I use dark brown sugar for this recipe because it provides a richer flavor as well as caramelization and color. It also provides more moisture, allowing it to be chewier. Also for this recipe, I use more brown sugar than white because white sugar spreads cookies and makes them crispy and brown makes them softer. But it still maintains the crisp edges around the outside. Little tip, brown sugar is actually just white sugar with molasses. So if you're ever out of brown sugar, but you happen to have white sugar and molasses, you're good to go. Okay, so we're gonna add our sugars to our butter now. At this point, I wanna talk real fast about the creaming method in cookies. Now, most recipes that you see are gonna say cream your butter and sugar together. First of all, if you're a new baker, why on earth would you know what that means? It reminds me of the classic scene in Schitt's Creek, Fold in the Cheese, where David and Moira are trying to make enchiladas. Moira says, fold in the cheese. David just looks at her really confused, and then there's utter chaos. It is hilarious. Go watch it. And also, Catherine O'Hara is an icon.
Fold it in half like a piece of paper and drop it in the pot, or what do you do?
David, I cannot show you everything.
Okay.
Anyways, back to what I was saying, the creaming method. So in reality, fully creaming butter and sugar together takes about 7 to 8 minutes, which is probably way longer than most people cream their butter and sugar together. So what the creaming method is doing is it's actually creating small pockets of air where the sugar crystals are jabbing into the butter, creating a lighter colored, fluffy mixture, which kind of resembles a cloud. So the end result is a lighter, puffier cookie because of all that air that has been trapped, which is not at all what I want for this cookie. I want a dense and chewy cookie. So for this recipe, we're actually gonna mix the butter and sugar together until just combined. Okay, so here's where we're at. It is dense, and the color hasn't really lightened at all, and this is exactly what I want. So now we're gonna add in the eggs and vanilla. We're doing 2 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. The reason I'm doing the extra egg yolk is because it provides richness and tenderness, whereas the egg white dries out the dough a little bit. And the best practice is always to crack your eggs into a separate bowl first, just to make sure no shells get in the rest of your dough. Do I always do this? No. But today I am. And again, here we're going to mix it until only just combines. While this is going, we're gonna grab our dry ingredients. Actually, I'm gonna turn this off now. It's doing pretty good. All right, so to my flour, I'm gonna be adding cornstarch, which provides tenderness but not extra gluten development, baking soda, which is our leavener, and salt. I'm gonna whisk them together so everything is evenly dispersed, but if I'm being totally honest, I don't always do that, but it's a great habit to get into if you want. Okay. Quick story time. Particularly when it comes to flour, this is why the scale is so important. If you Google what 1 cup of flour weighs, it will say between 4 to 5 ounces per cup, depending on the flour. However, when I first created this recipe so many years ago, somehow mine weighed in at 5.4 ounces per cup, which is drastically different and will very much affect your cookies. But I developed this recipe based around those measurements. So that is why the scale is so important, because there are way too many ways to scoop your flour. You can sprinkle in level, you can scoop in level, which can end up being a completely different amount than the recipe actually calls for. So go get a scale. So when our mixture is done, it will kind of look like grainy, wet sand. Remember, we are not creaming it to the point where it's light and fluffy. Now we're gonna add our dry ingredients. I'm gonna add this mixture in 3 portions. Again, theme of the day, only until just combined. Otherwise, it will get overmixed and result in a tough cookie. Okay, so here is the dough, looking and tasting perfect. And now for the main ingredient, the chocolate chips. Today, I'm using semi-sweet, which is my go-to for these cookies, but you can add any kind of chocolate you want. Milk and dark chocolate also taste great. The other thing is a lot of bakers will swear by getting a chocolate bar, chopping it up, and then using it so it has different sizes, pools of chocolate, and what they say is a prettier looking cookie. And of course, it makes a great cookie, but it is also so much more inconvenient. And today I'm trying to help you with a go-to simple chocolate chip cookie. So what I usually do is I actually use 2 different sizes of chocolate. Today I'm using a mini and a standard size, but you can also throw in some jumbos or chunks of chocolate if you want, and it kind of is a makeshift of that chocolate bar. Also, we are using 24 ounces of this chocolate, which is a full 4 cups of chips, whereas a lot of recipes only use 2 cups. I just really like these cookies, really, really chocolatey, which is funny because growing up, I didn't even like chocolate. Just ask my mom. So we're gonna mix these in, and you guessed it, until just combined. For me, I usually can tell it's ready to go when the dough starts coming off of the bowl. So this is what the dough looks like. It looks perfect. So I'm gonna clean all this up real quick, and then we're gonna get ready for scooping. Okay, so I've got everything cleaned up. I've got my dough, my scale, and my parchment lined pans. I highly recommend using parchment paper for greater consistency, and also a lighter color pan so that the bottoms of the cookies don't get too dark. So I'm gonna be weighing my cookie doughs at about 2.4 to 2.5 ounces, which will give you about 24 cookies for this recipe. Now, while I'm weighing all of these out, I wanna talk to you about the chilling factor. So one of the reasons I love this particular recipe is because the cold butter that we used allows for it to go straight into the oven and result in a great flavor and texture with no chilling required. The cold butter provides extra structure, so it stays thicker without much spread. On that note, chilling your dough will provide even more structure through things like the fat solidifying, sugar absorbing the liquids, and the flour getting hydrated. So chilling your dough also will help meld the flavors together and even result in a more pronounced butterscotch flavor the longer you let it chill. You can decide for yourself what you want to do. Some people swear by chilling the dough overnight, but not everyone has time to wait for that. And honestly, I usually want a cookie as soon as possible. So If you want to do a little baking experiment of your own with very low risk factor, try baking your cookies at different intervals. Some right away, then 24 hours, then 48, and even up to 72. And just see the difference that it makes with the chilling process. See what you like best and let me know how you like it in the comments. Okay, so we've got everything portioned out. I rolled them up just slightly. I'm gonna do one tray at a time in the oven just to ensure even cooking. My oven is already at 360 degrees. Keep in mind that when you open the door, the temperature will slightly drop. So make sure you don't leave your oven door open for too long. And I'm gonna be cooking these for about 11 to 12 minutes. All right, so I just pulled these out. They look fantastic. I always pull them out when they're slightly underdone. They've got the gold around the edges and they're slightly firm to the touch, but slightly underdone in the middle. But don't worry, because I'm gonna leave them on the pan for another 3 to 5 minutes, and they'll do what we call carryover cook, which is essentially that they're still cooking while sitting on the pan. Sometimes if we let them get fully brown in the oven, they actually end up as hard as bricks. Okay, so these guys have been cooling slightly. I'm gonna break into one of these so I can show you all of that chocolate I was talking about. Look at that goodness. So good, so chocolatey. Pro tip, make sure you have milk when you make these, because my husband freaks out when I have these cookies and he has no milk.
Do we have any milk?
We might actually not have any milk.
No!
Sorry, babe. So, life tip, always have milk when you're baking cookies. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you get the chance to try these out. If you liked the video, leave a comment below and let me know what you'd like to see next. And don't forget to subscribe. I will see you next time at the bar. Oh, say.